Kira stood perfectly still as the airlock door hissed open. Her pale blue skin reflected the bright lights of the human ship's docking bay. She reminded herself of her training. Observe, analyze, report. Nothing more. The human vessel, USS Horizon, was larger than she had expected. Zephyrian intelligence had described human ships as crude and inefficient, but the smooth curves and pulsing lights suggested otherwise. 4 other Zephyrians stood behind her, their faces showing no emotion, as they had been taught since birth. "Welcome aboard the Horizon." A tall human male with short brown hair and a wide smile approached. "I'm Captain Alan Wright. We're honored to host the first official Zephyrian delegation." Kira noted how the captain's face moved when he spoke, how his eyes crinkled at the corners. Such unnecessary muscle movements, such waste of energy. "We acknowledge your greeting, Captain Wright," said Observer Prime, the leader of their delegation. "I present our science officer, Kira, who will study your propulsion systems during our stay." Kira stepped forward and gave the practiced Zephyrian greeting, a slight nod with hands pressed flat against her sides. "I will complete my function efficiently." The captain's smile faltered for just a moment. "Well, we hope you'll do more than just work while you're here. We've prepared 3 months of cultural exchange activities. This deviation from protocol was unexpected. Kira had been told humans were predictable, despite their emotional nature. A female human with curly red hair bounded forward. "Hi, I'm Lisa. Daniels, engineering lieutenant. I'll be your liaison during your stay." She extended her hand and Kira stared at it, remembering the briefing about the human custom of handshakes. Carefully, Kira touched the woman's hand. The warmth of it surprised her. Lisa's grip was firm but gentle as she moved their hands up and down 3 times. "Your quarters are this way," Lisa said, gesturing toward a corridor. "We can drop off your things and then I'll show you around the ship." As they walked, Kira observed the other humans they passed. Many nodded or smiled. Some called out greetings to Lisa, who responded with various phrases like, "Catch you later," and "How's it going?" None of these exchanges contained useful information, yet they consumed time and energy. The Zephyrian delegation was shown to their quarters, private rooms with shared meeting space. Kira placed her single bag of equipment on the sleeping platform and rejoined the group for the tour. "This is our recreation deck," Lisa explained as they entered a large space filled with humans engaged in various activities. Some moved pieces, on checkered boards. Others were striking a small white ball across a green table. In one corner, a human male created shapes on a canvas using colored substances. "What function does this serve?" Kira asked, genuinely confused. Lisa tilted her head. "Fun, relaxation. It helps us stay balanced." "Balanced how?" Kira pressed. "Well, we're not just our jobs, you know. People need downtime to stay healthy." This concept, existing beyond one's assigned function, was foreign to Kira. On Zephyr, each citizen performed their role without question. Recreation was limited to physical maintenance activities to keep bodies functioning optimally. The tour continued to the bridge, where Captain Wright showed them the command systems. Kira noticed how the crew interacted. Junior officers offered suggestions that superiors considered seriously. A navigation officer named Carl made what was clearly a joke, and several humans produced the strange sound of laughter. That night, alone in her quarters, Kira activated her personal recording device. Day 1 aboard human vessel. Initial observations indicate significant deviations from Zephyrian intelligence reports. Human organizational structure appears inefficient, yet somehow effective. Crew members engage in non-essential activities that serve no clear purpose. The human called Lisa displays excessive facial movements when speaking. Captain Wright permitted subordinates to question operational decisions. Kira paused, then added, "Most troubling, I experienced an unexpected physiological response when the humans exhibited their laughter. My respiratory rate increased by 2.3%. I will monitor for signs of contamination." She looked out the small viewport at the stars. For the first time in her life, Kira felt something she couldn't name, a small spark of curiosity that went beyond her assigned mission. This, she knew, she would not include in her official report. A week passed aboard the USS Horizon. Kira followed Lisa through the ship's corridors, taking careful notes on her small data pad. The human woman moved with an energy that seemed wasteful to Zephyrian standards. "And this is where we hang out after shifts," Lisa said, waving her hand at a large room filled with humans. Some sat in groups talking and making the strange laughing sound. Others played games or watched moving images on screens. "What is the purpose of this activity?" Kira asked, watching two crew members move small carved pieces across a checkered board. "That's chess. It's a strategy game," Lisa explained. "It helps keep our minds sharp." Kira tilted her head. "Is this not what your assigned duties are for?" Lisa's face did the thing Kira had come to recognize as a smile. "We need breaks from work. Doesn't your species ever just do things for fun?" "Fun is not a concept in Zephyrian culture. We do what is needed for the good of all." Lisa sat down at an empty table and motioned for Kira to join her. "That sounds lonely." "Loneliness is an emotion. Zephyrians evolved beyond emotions centuries ago. They are inefficient." Lisa reached for a small device and pressed a button. A human male brought over 2 cups filled with steaming liquid. "Thanks, Ben," Lisa said, taking a sip from one cup and pushing the other toward Kira. "It's hot chocolate. Try it." Kira hesitated. Consuming anything not approved by Observer Prime was against protocol, but her mission was to learn about humans. She lifted the cup and let the liquid touch her lips. The sensation was immediate and overwhelming. Sweetness, warmth, and something rich and complex flooded her senses. Kira struggled to find words that wouldn't betray the strange feeling in her chest. "Good, right?" Lisa grinned. "Simple pleasures are the best." Before Kira could respond, a loud alarm sounded. Red lights flashed along the walls. "Emergency drill," Lisa explained, standing up. "We should report to the nearest safety station." They joined the flow of humans moving quickly but calmly through the corridors. Kira observed how they checked on each other, making sure no one was left behind. At the safety station, Captain Wright directed crew members to their positions. The efficiency of their movement surprised Kira. Despite their emotional nature, they functioned well as a unit. Suddenly, a crash echoed through the ship. A support beam had fallen, trapping a young human male beneath it. This wasn't part of the drill. "Paul's trapped," someone shouted. Captain Wright moved without hesitation. He rushed toward the fallen beam, ignoring the sparks flying from damaged circuits nearby. "Sir, the protocols state you should maintain command position," a security officer said. The captain ignored him. "Help me lift this." 3 crew members joined him, lifting the heavy metal beam while others pulled Paul to safety. The captain's hands were cut and bleeding when they finished. Kira watched, confused. On Zephyr, leaders never risked themselves for lower-ranked individuals. The logical choice would have been to sacrifice the trapped crew member if rescue presented any danger to the leader. Later, in the medical bay, Kira observed Captain Wright getting his hands treated. "Why did you do that?" she asked. "You risked your safety for a subordinate." The captain looked surprised. "Paul is part of my crew. Their safety is my responsibility." "But you are more valuable to the ship." "Everyone is valuable, Kira. That's how we see things." That night, Kira added to her secret research log. Human behavior continues to confound expected patterns. Today, Captain Wright violated safety protocols to save a lower-ranked crew member. When questioned, he did not recognize the illogical nature of his actions. Most troubling, I experienced an unexpected response when observing this event. My heart rate increased by 7.4%, and I felt a sensation in my chest cavity that defies explanation. She paused, then added, "I have also consumed an unauthorized substance called hot chocolate. I will monitor for adverse effects, though none have appeared so far except a desire to consume more. This is concerning." Kira looked at her reflection in the viewport glass. For a brief moment, she wondered what it would be like to smile. Lisa's voice came through the speaker next to Kira's door. "Hey, we're having a little celebration tonight. Nothing fancy, just marking our first month in deep space. Want to come?" Kira hesitated. Observer Prime had warned all Zephyrians to limit social contact with humans to necessary interactions only. But Kira's research needed more data. I will attend. For research purposes, she added quickly. When Kira arrived at the ship's large meeting hall, she was surprised by the transformation. Colorful lights hung from the ceiling. Music played from hidden speakers. Humans wore different clothes than their uniforms, and many held glasses with various liquids. Lisa spotted her and waved. She wore a green dress instead of her usual uniform. You came. Here, I saved you some cake. Kira accepted the small plate with a square of brown and white substance. What is the purpose of this celebration? We passed the 1-month mark of our mission. It's also Carl's birthday. Birthday? The anniversary of when he was born. We celebrate each year. This concept was foreign to Kira. Zephyrians recognized production dates only in official records, never with social gatherings. Lisa pulled Kira toward a group of humans who were moving their bodies in rhythm to the music. Want to try dancing? I do not know how to perform this action. There's nothing to know. You just feel the music and move. Feel the music? Kira watched, puzzled as humans swayed and stepped with no apparent pattern. Yet they all smiled, and some even closed their eyes as if experiencing something profound. A new human approached, a female with dark skin and short black hair. She wore a blue uniform with medical symbols. You must be Kira. I'm Dr. Samantha Nelson, Chief Medical Officer. Mind if I join you? Kira nodded, relieved to step away from the dancing. How are you finding life among humans? Dr. Nelson asked. Confusing, Kira admitted. Your species devotes significant time to non-productive activities. The doctor laughed, softly. We call that living, not just existing. Zephyrians believe efficiency is the highest goal. Is that why your people never smile or laugh? Kira stiffened. Those are emotional responses. We evolved beyond them. Dr. Nelson's eyes showed interest. Evolved or engineered? The question struck Kira like a physical blow. What do you mean? I've studied comparative xenobiology. Most sentient species develop emotions as an evolutionary advantage. They help with social bonding, danger assessment, and decision-making. Emotions are weaknesses, Kira recited from her earliest training. Are they? When Captain Wright saved Paul during the emergency, what drove that decision? Kira had no answer. The music changed to a slower rhythm, and she watched Captain Wright guide an older female crew member in a gentle dance. Their movements were careful, respectful. Tomorrow we have a joint research mission to the asteroid field, Dr. Nelson said. Will you be joining the science team? Yes. I am to observe human research methods. The next day, Kira stood with both human and Zephyrian scientists as they approached the asteroid field in a small research vessel. The plan was to collect mineral samples from 3 specific asteroids, but the field had shifted since the last scan. The target asteroids were now deep within a dense cluster, making the original approach too dangerous. The Zephyrian scientists froze. We must return to the ship and await new instructions, one said. This situation is outside approved parameters. The humans exchanged glances. A male scientist named Greg stepped forward. Or we could adjust our approach, use the shuttle's tractor beam to move some of the smaller asteroids, and create a safe passage. That was not in the mission briefing, objected another Zephyrian. Plans change when circumstances change, Greg said with a shrug. Let's vote on it. Kira watched in amazement as the humans quickly improvised a new plan, assigned roles, and began work while her Zephyrian colleagues stood rigidly by, unable to function without direct orders. Later, as the successful mission ended, Kira made another entry in her secret log. Today I witnessed humans adapting to unexpected conditions, while my own people were paralyzed by the deviation from protocol. Their emotional responses, rather than hindering them, seem to fuel creative problem-solving. I find myself curious about this approach. The word curious feels inadequate, but I have no better term in my vocabulary for this sensation. Alarms blared throughout the USS Horizon. Kira rushed to the bridge with the other Zephyrian delegates. Red warning lights flashed in the corridors. Captain Wright stood at the command center, his face serious as he studied the main screen. A swirling mass of energy pulsed in space ahead of them. Spatial anomaly, he explained when he saw the Zephyrians. It appeared without warning. Your ship is on the other side. The Observer Prime stepped forward. We must establish contact with our vessel. Communications are down, said a human at a nearby console. The anomaly is blocking all signals. How will you proceed, Captain? Asked the Observer Prime, his voice flat despite the danger. We're analyzing the anomaly now. It's expanding slowly. We need to find a way through it or around it. Kira watched the humans work. Unlike the Zephyrians who stood perfectly still awaiting orders, the human crew moved with purpose. They called out readings and suggested ideas. No one waited for permission to speak. Sir, called Lisa from the engineering station, if we modify the deflector shields to match the anomaly's frequency, we might create a safe passage. That would require someone to take a shuttle close enough to get precise readings, said another crew member. I'll go, Lisa volunteered immediately. It's too risky, Captain Wright said, shaking his head. I can assist, Kira said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. Zephyrian sensors are more sensitive than yours. I can help get the readings from a safer distance. The Observer Prime stepped closer to Kira. You are not authorized to offer assistance. This is a human problem. The anomaly threatens both our vessels, Kira replied. Cooperation is logical. Captain Wright studied her for a moment. She's right, and we could use the help. I forbid it, the Observer Prime said. For the first time in her life, Kira deliberately disobeyed an order. I will go. 20 minutes later, Kira sat beside Lisa in a small shuttlecraft, moving slowly toward the edge of the anomaly. The swirling energy made patterns that Kira found strangely beautiful. Thanks for coming, Lisa said as she piloted the shuttle. Couldn't have done this alone. It was the logical choice, Kira said, but something inside her knew that wasn't entirely true. Part of her had wanted to help Lisa specifically, not just complete a mission. Kira focused on the sensor readings. The anomaly's frequency is shifting. We need to move closer. Lisa guided the shuttle forward. Suddenly, a burst of energy hit them. The shuttle rocked violently. A panel exploded near Kira, sending sharp pieces of metal flying. Kira! Lisa shouted. Kira felt something warm on her face. She touched it and saw blue liquid on her fingers. Her blood. Lisa quickly set the shuttle to autopilot and moved to help Kira. She pressed a cloth against the cut on Kira's forehead. Are you okay? Lisa's face showed an expression Kira now recognized as concern. Yes. We should complete the mission. Kira turned back to the sensors, ignoring the strange feeling in her chest at Lisa's proximity. They gathered the needed data and returned to the horizon. In the shuttle bay, Security Officer Jack Peters waited for them. When he saw Kira's injury, he rushed forward. Medical team is on the way, he said, helping Kira out of the shuttle. I am functional, Kira insisted, but her legs felt unexpectedly weak. Jack caught her as she stumbled. Easy there. Getting hurt on a mission is nothing to be embarrassed about. Embarrassed. Was that what she was feeling? Zephyrians weren't supposed to feel anything. In the medical bay, Dr. Nelson treated Kira's cut. You were brave today, she said softly, so the other Zephyrians couldn't hear. Bravery is an emotional response. I am not capable of it, Kira replied automatically. Dr. Nelson smiled knowingly. Then what would you call voluntarily going on a dangerous mission to help people who aren't your own kind? Kira had no answer. That night, in her quarters, Kira made another log entry. Today I disobeyed a direct order from Observer Prime. I cannot explain my actions through logic alone. When Lisa volunteered for the dangerous mission, I experienced a physiological response. Increased heart rate, elevated body temperature. I felt concerned for her safety. Kira paused, fingers hovering over the recording device. I am experiencing symptoms that are forbidden in Zephyrian society. If discovered, I would face reconditioning or worse. And yet these new sensations do not feel like weakness. They feel like awakening. She closed the log and touched the bandage on her forehead, remembering Lisa's gentle hands and the look of worry in her eyes. Something was changing inside Kira, and it terrified and fascinated her at the same time. Kira woke in the night, her heart racing. The dream had seemed so real. She had been laughing with Lisa, feeling joy without shame. Such dreams were considered signs of genetic regression among Zephyrians. Unable to sleep, she decided to visit the ship's library. The corridors were quiet during night shift, with only a few crew members nodding to her as she passed. The library was empty. Kira sat at a computer terminal and hesitated. What she planned to do was forbidden, but the strange feelings growing inside her wouldn't stop, and she needed answers. She typed Dr. Nelson's name and rank, then added a code she had memorized while watching the doctor access medical files. The computer hesitated, then opened. Kira's fingers moved quickly. First, she searched for information on human emotions. The medical database contained detailed studies on how emotions affected human decision-making, health, and social bonds. 1. Report caught her attention. Emotional Intelligence and Crisis Response. It detailed how human ships had survived disasters specifically because crew members used emotional responses to solve problems traditional logic couldn't address. Next, she searched for information on Zephyrians. To her surprise, there were several files. Dr. Nelson had been studying her species carefully. The first file contained basic biological data. The second held historical records. Kira opened it and began to read. Her hands trembled as the truth unfolded before her. 300 years ago, Zephyrians had been much like humans, emotional, creative, unpredictable. Then a group called the Evolutionary Council had risen to power. They believed emotions made their species weak. The council hadn't waited for evolution to take its course. They had changed the Zephyrian genome, altering brain chemistry to suppress emotional responses. Generation after generation, they modified their people further, creating a society where emotions were not just discouraged, but genetically muted. It was all a lie. Zephyrians hadn't evolved beyond emotions. They had been engineered to lose them. The door to the library slid open. Kira quickly closed the files, but not fast enough. Interesting reading? Dr. Nelson asked, walking toward her. Kira stood up. I apologize for accessing your files without permission. I'm not angry, Kira. I've been hoping you would look. The doctor sat down beside her. You've been changing since you came aboard, haven't you? Kira's voice was barely audible. Yes. I noticed it the first week. Your pupils dilate when you're interested in something. You lean forward slightly when Lisa speaks. Your breathing changes when you taste new food. These are emotional responses, Kira said. They're natural responses, Dr. Nelson corrected gently. What you found in those files is true. Your people weren't always as they are now. But why am I experiencing these changes when other Zephyrians aren't? The doctor looked thoughtful. Some individuals are born with genetic variations that make the emotional suppression less effective. Usually, these variations are detected early, and the individuals are corrected. Reconditioned, Kira said, remembering the whispered word. From her childhood, some children disappeared for months and returned changed, flatter, quieter. Yes, but sometimes the variation is subtle enough to go undetected. I believe that's what happened with you. Kira's mind raced. If Observer Prime discovers this, I will be sent back for reconditioning. Is that what you want? The question struck Kira like a physical blow. For the first time, she considered what she wanted, not what was expected of her. No, she whispered, surprised by her own answer. Dr. Nelson nodded. Then we need to be careful. The Zephyrian delegation has been watching you more closely since the shuttle mission. Kira remembered how the Observer Prime had summoned her after the mission, questioning her decision to help the humans. He had studied her with cold eyes, looking for signs of contamination. What happens to me now? Kira asked. That depends on you, but know this, what you're experiencing isn't a flaw or a disease. It's your natural state breaking through years of genetic suppression. Kira looked at her blue hands, seeing them differently now. I'm afraid, she admitted, saying the word for the first time. Fear is normal when your whole world changes, Dr. Nelson said, touching Kira's arm gently. But you don't have to face it alone. As they left the library, neither noticed the small surveillance device in the corner. Its lens focused on them, transmitting directly to the Zephyrian delegation's private quarters where the Observer Prime watched, his face as expressionless as ever. The next morning, Kira was summoned to the Zephyrian delegation's meeting room. Her heart beat faster with each step. Did they know? Had they discovered her secret research or her growing emotions? The Observer Prime sat at the head of the table, his silver eyes revealing nothing. Two other Zephyrians flanked him, equally expressionless. Science Officer Kira, your behavior has become concerning, the Observer Prime said flatly. You have been spending excessive time with humans, particularly the engineer, Lisa Daniels and Dr. Nelson. Kira kept her face carefully blank. I am gathering data on human social structures as part of my research. Your research assignment was limited to propulsion systems, he reminded her. Furthermore, you disobeyed a direct order during the anomaly crisis. The situation required immediate action for the safety of both vessels. The Observer Prime studied her. You will return with me to our ship immediately. The diplomatic mission continues, but your role in it is concluded. Kira knew what that meant. They had detected her emotional awakening. Once aboard the Zephyrian vessel, she would be placed in isolation and eventually returned home for reconditioning, a process that would strip away her emerging self. May I collect my research materials from my quarters? She asked. You will be escorted. Kira returned to her room with a Zephyrian guard watching her every move. As she gathered her datapad, the door slid open again. Lisa stood there, her face worried. Kira, are you okay? You missed our engineering tour. The guard stepped forward. The human will leave now. Lisa looked confused. What's going on? I am being returned to the Zephyrian vessel, Kira said carefully. My assignment here is complete. Something in her voice must have alerted Lisa. The human woman's eyes widened slightly, then narrowed with understanding. I see. Well, I'll miss our discussions about warp field theory. Lisa backed out of the door. Safe journey, Kira. 30 minutes later, Kira stood in the airlock chamber with the Observer Prime and her guard. Captain Wright and several crew members had come to see them off. I'm sorry to lose your expertise, Science Officer Kira, the captain said. Your contributions were valuable. Before Kira could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. Captain, to the bridge immediately, came a voice over the communication system. What's happening? Demanded the Observer Prime. Stay here, Captain Wright ordered as he rushed away with his officers. Minutes passed. The alarms continued. Then, the door slid open and Lisa appeared with Jack Peters, the security officer. The anomaly has expanded suddenly, Lisa said breathlessly. It's cutting off the path to your ship. The captain says transfer is delayed indefinitely. The Observer Prime's face remained blank, but his voice carried a hint of suspicion. This is convenient timing. Sir, Jack said, you and your guard need to come with me to the diplomatic quarters for safety. Standard procedure during emergencies. And Science Officer Kira? Asked the Observer Prime. Engineering needs her help with the sensor modifications we were working on, Lisa said quickly. Her expertise with Zephyrian technology could help us communicate through the anomaly to your vessel. The Observer Prime stared at Lisa, then at Kira. This seems irregular. It's an irregular situation, sir, Jack said firmly. Captain's orders. After a tense moment, the Observer Prime nodded. Very well. But Science Officer Kira will report to our quarters immediately after completing this task. As soon as they were gone, Lisa grabbed Kira's arm. Come on, we don't have much time. Where are we going? What is happening? Kira asked as they rushed through the corridors. Dr. Nelson told me everything. We're hiding you until we can figure this out. They entered a small storage room near engineering. Dr. Nelson was waiting with a medical kit. They were taking you back for reconditioning, weren't they? The doctor asked. Kira nodded. How did you know about the alarm? There is no alarm, Lisa grinned. Well, there is, but it's just in this section. Jack hacked the system. You created a false emergency? Kira was shocked. All to help me? That's what friends do, Lisa said simply. The word friends echoed in Kira's mind. No Zephyrian had ever called her friend. The Observer Prime will discover the deception soon, Kira warned. We know, Dr. Nelson said. But by then, the captain will be involved. He doesn't know our plan yet, but he won't let them take you against your will. Kira felt something warm slide down her cheek. She touched it and found moisture. What is happening to me? You're crying, Lisa said gently. It's what happens sometimes when emotions get too big to hold inside. What happens now? Kira asked, wiping away the strange tears. Dr. Nelson's face grew serious. Now, we fight for your freedom. Captain Wright's face was stern as he faced the Observer Prime in the conference room. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Let me be clear, the captain said. Science Officer Kira has requested asylum aboard this vessel. Under interstellar law, I must consider her request. This is unacceptable, the Observer Prime replied. His voice remained flat, but his posture had stiffened. She is Zephyrian. She belongs with her people. She claims she faces persecution if returned. That is absurd. Zephyrians do not persecute. We correct deviation for the good of all. Dr. Nelson stepped forward. You mean you forcibly alter brain chemistry to remove emotions that naturally occur? The Observer Prime turned to her. You have interfered with our internal affairs, Doctor. This is a diplomatic incident now. No, said a new voice from the doorway. This is a revolution. Kira entered the room, flanked by Lisa and Jack. She had changed from her Zephyrian uniform into a standard USS Horizon crew outfit. Her blue skin stood out against the dark fabric. Science Officer Kira, you will return to your delegation immediately, ordered the Observer Prime. I will not. Kira's voice was strong now, no longer carefully controlled. I know the truth about our people. I know what the Evolutionary Council did to us. You are experiencing emotional contamination from these humans. It can be corrected. It's not contamination, Kira said. It's liberation. The Observer Prime turned to Captain Wright. Your crew has damaged a Zephyrian citizen. This violates our treaty agreements. Captain Wright remained calm. My crew has done nothing but show kindness to Officer Kira. If that kindness awakened something in her, it was already there. Communications Officer Martinez is requesting entry, sir, reported Jack from near the door. Let her in, the captain said. Kelly Martinez hurried into the room, her dark eyes excited. Captain, I've been monitoring communications from the Zephyrian vessel. There's something you need to hear. She placed a small device on the conference table. A voice, clearly Zephyrian but with unusual inflection, emerged from it. To any aboard the human vessel who can hear this, we are the awakened. There are many among us who know the truth about our history. We have watched Officer Kira's experience with great interest. Her courage gives us hope. The emotional suppression is breaking down in more of us with each generation. We are ready to reclaim our birthright. The Observer Prime's silver eyes widened slightly, the first real expression Kira had ever seen on his face. This is treason. This is freedom, Kira countered. She turned to Captain Wright. There are others like me, sir. Many others who want to feel again, to live fully. The captain nodded thoughtfully, then addressed the Observer Prime. It seems this issue extends beyond one officer requesting asylum. This is an internal Zephyrian matter, the Observer Prime insisted. Not anymore, said Captain Wright. Not when your people are reaching out to us for help. Kira stepped closer to the table. I want to send a message to both ships. Let me tell everyone the truth about our history, about what was taken from us. I cannot allow this, the Observer Prime said. "With respect, sir," said Kelly, "you can't stop it. The awakened group on your ship has already taken control of several communication systems. They're standing by for Kira's message." Lisa touched Kira's arm supportively. "You can do this." Kira felt a surge of emotion, fear mixed with determination and hope. These feelings that would have terrified her weeks ago now gave her strength. Captain Wright studied her face. "Are you sure about this, Kira? There may be no going back." "I am sure, Captain. My people deserve the truth. They deserve the choice, to feel or not to feel." The captain nodded to Kelly. "Set up a ship-wide broadcast and link it to the Zephyrian vessel." Minutes later, Kira stood before a communication panel. The small red light indicated she was now broadcasting to both ships. "I am Science Officer Kira. What I am about to tell you will change everything you believe about being Zephyrian." As she spoke, revealing the truth about their engineered emotional suppression, the Observer Prime watched with the first traces of fear showing in his silver eyes. Behind him, on the main view screen, a group of Zephyrians on their own ship gathered, listening to Kira's words, their faces showing subtle but unmistakable signs of awakening emotions. A revolution had begun. 3 months had passed since the EI'd day Kira revealed the truth to both ships. She stood by the large viewport in the observation deck of the USS Horizon, watching the stars streak by. The ship was on its way to Earth now, carrying the first official Zephyrian delegation of the Awakened. "There you are," Lisa said, entering the room with 2 cups of hot chocolate. "Thought you might want some." Kira accepted the cup with a smile, a real smile that came naturally now. "Thank you." "Nervous about Earth?" "A little," Kira admitted, "but excited too. So much had happened since that day." The Observer Prime had tried to stop the rebellion by ordering the Zephyrian ship to fire on the Horizon, but many Zephyrian crew members had refused. The emotional awakening had spread faster than anyone expected, especially among the younger officers. In the confusion, the Observer Prime had attempted to activate a self-destruct sequence, declaring that both ships must be destroyed to contain the contamination. Captain Wright and his crew, working with the awakened Zephyrians, had managed to prevent the disaster just in time. "Dr. Nelson wants to see you in medical," Lisa said. "Something about your latest test results." Kira nodded. The doctor had been monitoring her brain chemistry as the emotional awakening progressed. Many Zephyrians were now undergoing similar monitoring as they chose to embrace their emotions. In the medical bay, Dr. Nelson greeted her with good news. "Your neural pathways are stabilizing beautifully, Kira. The emotional centers of your brain are fully active now but in balance with your logical processes." "So I'm normal?" Kira asked. "You're better than normal," the doctor replied. "You have both the exceptional analytical abilities of a Zephyrian and the emotional intelligence of a fully integrated being. It's quite remarkable." Captain Wright entered the medical bay, his uniform more formal than usual. "Ready for the ceremony, Kira?" "Yes, Captain. Though I still don't understand why you're doing this for me." "You sparked a peaceful revolution that will change 2 civilizations for the better. That deserves recognition." An hour later, Kira stood in the ship's main assembly hall. The entire crew was present, along with 20 Zephyrians who had chosen to remain aboard the Horizon. Among them were scientists, engineers, and medical officers who wanted to learn about integrating emotions into their lives. Captain Wright stood at the center of the room. "Today we formally welcome Science Officer Kira as the first Zephyrian citizen of the United Earth Alliance." He handed Kira a small document with the Alliance insignia. The hall erupted in applause. Furthermore, the captain continued when the noise died down. "Kira will serve as our official ambassador to the new Zephyrian government in formation. Her unique perspective makes her ideal for this historic role." Kira stepped forward. 3 months ago, she would have simply nodded and acknowledged the logical choice. Today, she felt tears of joy forming in her eyes. "Thank you, Captain Wright. When I first came aboard this ship, I believed humans were primitive because you allowed emotions to guide you. Now I understand that your emotions are your greatest strength." She looked around at the faces of the crew who had become her friends, Lisa, Dr. Nelson, Jack, Kelly, and so many others. You taught me that logic without compassion is empty, that efficiency without purpose is meaningless, that a life without connection is no life at all. Kira turned to the Zephyrians in the room. And to my people, we have a long road ahead. Some will choose to remain as they are, and that choice must be respected. But for those who wish to feel again, to reclaim our birthright, humans have offered their help and friendship. Later, at the celebration that followed, Lisa found Kira standing alone by the viewport again. Deep thoughts? Lisa asked. I was thinking about that first day when you offered me hot chocolate and I was afraid to try it. Lisa laughed. You've come a long way from there. We all have, Kira said. She turned from the stars to face her friend. Lisa, there's something I've been wanting to ask you. What's that? What does it feel like to be human? To have always had your emotions, to never know life without them? Lisa thought for a moment. I'm not sure I can explain it, it's just being fully alive, I guess. Feeling everything, the good and the bad. Kira nodded. For so long, I was taught that emotions were our evolutionary past, something primitive to be overcome. But now I understand they are our future. So how does it feel? Lisa asked gently. After everything you've been through, how does it feel to be you now? Kira looked around the room at the humans and Zephyrians talking, laughing and connecting. She felt the warmth of friendship, the pride of accomplishment, the hope for the future, and a dozen other emotions she was still learning to name. She smiled at Lisa, a real, joyful smile that reached her eyes. It feels like everything, she said simply, and it's wonderful.